It's KDSK, AM and FM. It is K-Tahoe, AM and FM. It is airfm.com. It is your Wednesday night Knucklehead radio program, and I have returned to the studio.
Yes, you have.
Last week it was Gary and Ingrid on the air. And how in the heck did that go, Mr. Bombalicki?
It went really well. But you know what? The thing is...
In your humble opinion.
No, it did, but... Well, he's not going to let me finish.
No, of course not.
Listen, it went really well, but the show is not the same without you here.
Well, thank you very much. Because,
I mean, the thing is, there's some people in here, so I guess we'll just kind of update, and we kind of banter back and forth.
Yeah.
He's master control, and I just kind of... He asks me questions and I answer them.
I'm a master of many things, control not necessarily being one of them. But in studio tonight, we have Fallen Riviera. We have two members of the band. We've got Steve and Will that dropped in. And somehow I'm going to have to adjust this where I'm going to get out of frame. So we're videotaping this for the latest from the greatest on our website as well. And we're going to talk to the guys. First of all, I guess, why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us what function you perform in the band.
My name is Will Parry. My function in the band is lead vocals and piano.
And my name is Steve, and I play guitar.
And I got a chance to listen to some of the music earlier, and there's always the 6 degrees of Ken Scott here in the studio, because everything we do and everything we play and everything we say somehow traces back to Ken Scott. And when I was contacted by Francine, is it Francine?
Yes.
Who's your manager, she said that Ken Scott had produced one of your singles.
Yes, he produced a song for us last month.
And somehow it was also suggested that you know Alan Quinlan somehow. No?
Do we?
Yeah, well, maybe not.
I do not.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, then out. Yeah. Out with you. Yeah.
Leave.
Yeah, we've had Alan on the show a couple of times, and any friend of Ken Scott and Alan's is a friend of ours. So tell me a little bit about the formation of the band, how you guys got together.
Well, I am from the southwest of England. I moved to Boston to go to the Berklee College of Music. Steve is from LA. Say hi, Steve.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing?
He did the same thing, went to Boston to go to Berklee. We both had a wonderful couple of years there, not knowing each other, but then bumped into each other and started writing, and there was no more school. It was let's be rock stars.
There's a lot of great music that certainly has come out of the northeast area of the country. Talking Heads, art school students, obviously Boston, famous for many things, including beer and Aerosmith and Boston.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
As a band, did you find the music scene in Boston conducive to starting a music career?
Go on, Steve.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I actually didn't necessarily find it conducive to starting a music career. Being from this neck of the woods over here, I sort of had this idea that I'd go over there and there'd be thousands of kids at Berklee that were all just amazingly talented, and it'd be easy to put a band together, and everybody would be doing it. Unfortunately, while everyone was super talented in that city, and there are a lot of amazing clubs, I didn't find it easy to actually start a band. For some reason, I found that everyone was so interested in just studying. I mean, being at Berklee, we were practicing at some point 6-8 hours a day. And
well, it's not a cheap establishment of learning. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, you find that students are the worst consumers in the world, right? Because you're paying a lot of money to go to school, and they're going, I hope class is canceled. Can we go home early? I want to get out of here, right?
Yeah,
I mean, people want to get out of their educational obligation as easily and slickly as they possibly can with the least amount of pain.
Yeah,
exactly.
Hence why we moved to LA. As soon as like, hey, I like writing with you, let's get out of here. It's cold. You're spending a lot of money on school. You're spending a lot of money just living in Boston. I mean, it's a wonderful town, but...
Tell me a little bit about the name of the band, Fallen Riviera. Where did that come from?
Fallen Riviera. Well, as I mentioned, I'm from the southwest of England, and I'm from a town called Torquay, which is in Torbay, which is the English Riviera.
Okay.
Traditionally, the hotspot for tourism, just like Nice is the French Riviera. But during the 90s, early 2000s, it seems like when I was growing up in the early 90s, the weather was beautiful. My parents are actually in the tourist industry. It just took a dive. The weather continued to get worse and worse, and flights to Spain got cheaper and cheaper, and no one came down from England to go on holiday, apart from maybe to bring their caravan down. So it's not such a tourist hotspot anymore, so it is the fallen Riviera. It's probably going to leave a bad taste in my town's mouth
yeah, exactly.
if we ever make any real noise.
We're going to put you right on the Chamber of Commerce, matter of fact, head of tourism and promotion for the area.
Yeah, prove me wrong, please.
Yeah. So we're going to play a tune from Steve and Will. The name of the song is "Somebody Take Me," which was one that you worked with Ken Scott on. Correct?
Yes, that's the one.
And how long ago was this recorded? Where was it recorded? And what was the inspiration for the song?
It was recorded at Total Access Recording Studios in Redondo Beach, owned by Wyn Davis. When was it? The beginning of August?
Yeah, I believe so. We actually
it's pretty fresh.
Really fresh.
Is the last thing that we recorded. It's actually going to be on our upcoming album that comes out in January.
And we're going to play this right now. 2012, it's Somebody Take Me, K Tahoe, KDSK. It's your Wednesday night Knucklehead radio program. What a great tune that is. Guys, why don't you tell me a little bit about what it was like working with someone like Ken Scott?
What an incredible experience it was for us, I'll tell you. We've actually known about Ken for a while. We did some work with him last year. Will actually did some work with him on a Supertramp DVD, I believe it was, doing some piano.
Yes,
right.
It was. It was actually some sound replacement.
Right.
We were taking some 70s synth and replacing it with something a little more modern, but that was an experience in itself. But yeah, it was crazy being in.
Yeah, and then after that we wound up going in. He just released a book recently called Abbey Road to Ziggy Stardust.
And what a great book that is.
Oh, it's outrageous.
Everybody I've recommended it to has bought it and not given it back.
Yeah, exactly. And we had helped him out with some music that he wanted to do for it, for a special that was airing on TV. And it was an amazing experience unto itself, going in and getting to recreate sounds that, for While My Guitar Gently Weeps and Jeff Beck, and as the guitar player, I was in absolute heaven. And for Will, of course, getting to play parts that were similar to Elton John. I mean,
So, going into the studio, obviously, you had already probably written and rehearsed the material a couple of times.
Just a couple of times. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and so
we'd made sure it was absolutely perfect.
With the influence of Ken Scott, did it sound different or turn out quite a bit differently than what you had in mind walking in?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's what we wanted for the song, and that's why our producer, Wyn, who we've worked with, our last release, Six Minds, he produced that record, and they've been friends for so long. He knew that Ken would be able to add something to this, which is he sort of has this process of making things imperfect. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Steve-O.
I know, right?
The irony.
Exactly. It's why I said that. But no, he took what we had, and the approach of recording it was just totally different. It wasn't about making it this perfect thing that was Frankenstein together. It was just about getting the best performance he could from us, and that's the Ken experience.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. And then when you look at the history and sort of the things that he's done in the past, there's a great commercial accessibility to what is in that tune, right? I mean,
we certainly hope so.
Yeah, the way it's put together, the overdubs, it just sounds comfortable to listen to, where if it hadn't have been produced the way it did, it might have been a little edgier and a little more jagged, if you will.
Yeah.
If you listen to some of the original Devo stuff and then the stuff they did on Sire Records, for example, after they went through the production process of putting together B-52s, if you listen to the original Rock Lobster before they got sirized, right? I mean, it makes it more accessible to more people, I think, and so it gives it that commercial appeal. Yeah,
we went in, and there were moments where he said, "Right, this is the last time. Do it properly this time."
Exactly.
It's like this wasn't going to take 5-6 days to do. We did it in 2.
There were no 40 vocal takes. It was done in 3 or 4 performances, and then the last one was the one he kept.
Well, I mean, that way, it doesn't become, as you said, too perfect, right? It still has some rough edges for people to enjoy in the process, which is great. We're talking to Steve and Will from Fallen Riviera. It is the Wednesday night Knucklehead radio program. Me, the insane Darrell Wayne.
Gary the Bomber Bombalicki.
And the Knuckleheads will be right back. It's Mike Oldfield, bumper music back into the Knuckleheads. It is Wednesday night. It's KDSK AM and FM. It's K Tahoe AM and FM. It is your Knucklehead radio program. You've got me, the insane Darrell Wayne.
Gary the Bomber Bombalicki.
Ingrid from Encino, a little under the weather tonight, should be back with us in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And in the studio, we've got Steve and Will from Fallen Riviera. Guys, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having us.
Are you enjoying yourself so far?
We're having a wonderful
Is this
time.
a blast? Is this the best damned radio interview you've ever done in your life?
This is the best day of my life.
Okay, well, and there's always tomorrow.
Gosh, who knows what's happening tomorrow?
Well, let's talk a little bit about what's happening next week. I understand that you guys are going to go back in the studio to complete this. You can't call it an album anymore, can you? Is it a CD? Is it a collection of MP3s?
You know
what do you call them these days? I'm sorry. I'm an old dude. I call it an album that you're working on.
Well, we're old at heart because we're calling this an album. It's so important for us just to actually have a collection of songs that we can say this is our debut album. So we'll go with an album.
Yes. I was talking to Greg.
If that's what Facebook allows it.
There you go.
Allows it to be, you know?
I was talking to Greg Kinn about 3 weeks ago, and it used to be back in the day, you know, when people put together an album, it was put together for a reason, and everything sort of gelled. I mean, you're supposed to drop the needle on the track one side and let it play all the way through and flip it over and play it all the way through. And from beginning to the end, it used to be strung together with some sort of stream of consciousness. It used to tell some sort of a story or be thematic or tied together one way or another. Do people even think like that anymore when they go through the creative process? Or is it just 13 or 14 isolated events?
Well, quite honestly, we're not quite sure what people think.
We've
certainly thought about it a lot. We've imagined the curve of this record for a long time. We released... Somebody Take Me earlier in the summer. Earlier in the year, we did a video for a song, This Is Who I Am, who will be
we're going to play that.
Very lately.
Yeah, we'll play that.
And those two songs were songs we knew would be on the album because we were really happy with them. But then we did a tour in the spring. We went out to Arizona. We came back through New Mexico, out to Texas. And we played with a band that said, right, we're taking the summer off to write music. And we thought, oh, that's ridiculous. How can you take the summer off?
And why would you need to?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we got back and decided that we were going to go in September or October and record a full-length album. And we realized, well,
no material.
We better write it then.
Yeah.
So we took a couple of months and we just wrote and just imagined this curve of this album, and we wanted to make it perfect. So
are you all lyricists, or does one of you particular write the lyric? Do you do like an Elton John, Bernie Taupin thing where somebody writes the music and somebody is there a completely collaborative effort, I guess is the question.
Well, Will is definitely the lyricist in the band, and Will and I write the music together. Because he plays piano, it's so helpful because he'll come in sometimes with an idea that he's worked up, and it could be completely fleshed out, melody, lyrics, everything. There are times I'll have a guitar idea. So between the two of us, it's a complete collaboration. But he's the lyricist.
He's the lyricist on this. Let's go ahead and play "Drained," and then come back and talk with Fallen Riviera. It is KDSK. It's K Tahoe. You're on with the Knuckleheads.